Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is November 5th, 2025. It is a Wednesday. We have a big show today. It's going to be another long one. College basketball, NBA, NHL, soccer, golf, NFL Wednesday bet on this day. NFL power rankings as the trade deadline approached, I should say, news and notes, and best bet. College basketball is where we'll begin today. We'll go over the results from yesterday of note and look ahead to tonight. Again, not a lot of games. There was more games yesterday than today. I think tomorrow, though, it's going to be busy. Number 1, Purdue over Evansville, 82-51. Number 9, Kentucky over Nichols, 77-51. South Carolina over NCAT, 91-72. Florida State over Alcorn State, 108-76. NJIT over Fordham, 72-61. So there's another bye game loser in Fordham. East Carolina over Georgia Southern, 92-89. West Virginia over Mount St. Mary's, 70-54. Wichita State over UNC Asheville, 75-58. Number 10, Texas Tech over Lindenwood, 98-60. Valparaiso over Eastern Illinois, 66-63. Kansas State over UNC Greensboro, 93-64. Oklahoma State over Oral Roberts, 95-71. Iowa over Robert Morris, 101-69. Number 6, Duke over Texas, 75-60 from Charlotte. Arizona State over Southern Utah, 81-64. Nevada over Louisiana Tech, 77-50. San Diego State over Long Beach State, 77-45. Tennessee Martin over UNLV, 86-81. Stanford over Portland State, 89-79. And Oregon over Hawaii, 60-59. So best bet lost. All right, so we only have to preview and look to 14 games tonight, so not a lot. We have a New Jersey battle at 6 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. Rider-Rutgers. Rutgers was home opener. My line is Rutgers by 6.5, and it's 18.5. Total's 139.5. I'm taking Rider getting the points. That's a lot. Coppin State, LaSalle. I have LaSalle by 9, and it is LaSalle by 17.5. Totals 141.5. I'll take Coppin State getting the points. Next up, we have Delaware State Temple. My line is Temple 10.5 and it's 17.5. Totals 154.5. So third straight underdog. I'm taking Delaware State. Maryland Eastern Georgia. My line is Georgia 28 and it's 33.5. Total 142.5. I'll take UMass plus the points. Southern Indiana Butler. If Butler by 19 is 22.5. Total 155.5. Again, I'm taking the points. The only ranked game tonight, 8 o'clock on Peacock. South Dakota number 23 Creighton. I have Creighton by a whopping 33.5. It's 29.5, total 168.5. For the first time I'm laying points with somebody. Creighton. Alabama A&M, Indiana on the Big Ten Network. I have Indiana 23.5. It's 30.5, totals 146.5. I'll take Bama A&M in the points. Tarleton State LSU, I have LSU by 22.5, and it's 15.5, total 145.5. I'll lay the points with the Tigers. Southern Marquette. My line's Marquette by 34. It's 24.5, total 154.5. I'll lay it with Marquette. East Texas A&M, New Mexico, 9 o'clock. My line's New Mexico, 35.5. It's 21.5, total 141.5. I'll lay it with New Mexico. SC Upstate, Fresno State. My line's Fresno, 15.5. And it's 9.5, total 165.5. I'll lay it with Fresno. North Dakota State, UC Davis. Mine's UC Davis as a 5-point underdog. And they're actually giving 1.5, totals 143.5. I'll take North Dakota State plus the 1.5 and plus 116 outright. So that looks like it's essentially a 2 at this point. North Alabama, Mississippi State on the SEC Network. Mine's Mississippi State by 16.5. And it's 24.5, totals 153.5. I'll take North Alabama getting the points. And last but not least, 10:30 Eastern Washington, Loyola Marymount. I have Marymount by 9. And it's 8.5, totals 153.5. This is the first game where I have to go with the total. And for this game, I'm going to go with the over. Okay, now move on to the NBA. We'll recap yesterday's games and look ahead to tonight. Tonight's a busy window. We have 11 games, maybe 12, 11. I was right. Raptors over the Bucks 128-100. Hawks over the Magic 127-112. Bulls over the Sixers 113-111. Pelicans over the Hornets 116-112. Warriors over the Suns 118-107. And the Thunder over the Clippers 126 to 107. Busy window tonight, as I said, 7 o'clock. We have Sixers, Cavs. My line is the Cavs by a whopping 11.25. A lot of people heard on Philly. And it's 10.5, totals 235.5. And the return of Darius Garland. I'm going to go with the under. I think that's high. Jazz Pistons. My line is the Pistons 13.75. It's 10 and 232.5. I'll lay the 10 with the Pistons. Nets Pacers. I have the Pacers only by 3, and it's 6.5 totals 231.5. I actually think Brooklyn is going to cover here. I'm going to take plus 6.5. 7:30 Wizards Celtics. I have the Celtics by 8. And it's 12.5 totals 233.5. I'll take the Wizards getting the 12.5. That's a lot of points. 7:30 ESPN. T-Wolves, Knicks. On the call of the game. Oh, we don't know yet. Maybe Mike Breen, we'll see. My line is Knicks 3.5. So this is obviously Julius Randle back in New York. Looks like Anthony Edwards is back. Knicks are giving 3. Totals 28.5. I'll go with the over. 8 o'clock Rockets Grizzlies. My line is the Grizzlies as a 3.75 underdog. And it's 8.5 totals to 32.5. I'll take Memphis plus the points. That's a lot of points. 8:30 Pelicans Mavericks. My line is the Mavs by 5. And it's 8.5 totals to 26.5. I'll take New Orleans getting the points. No Anthony Davis tonight. Or Zion. 9 o'clock Heat Nuggets. My line is the Nuggets 12.25. And it is 9.5 total 241.5. I'll lay the points with Denver. 10 o'clock ESPN Spurs Lakers. My line is the Lakers by 2. No LeBron. No De'Aaron Fox. No Dylan Harper. And it's 1 and 226.5. I'm going to go with the over. Actually, no. Yeah, over because of Luka, but I'm going to regret it because of Wemby's D. Thunder Blazers. I have the Thunder 6.75. And it's 4.5 total 228.5. I actually have, there's actually value on the Thunder. That's a short number. And then Warriors Kings. My line is the Warriors by 3.25. And it's Kings 3.5 total 226.5. I know there's no Curry, and that's why the Kings have a minus by their name. Stephen Curry's literally a quarterback. Like, you're automatically an underdog without Stephen Curry. So I'm going to take Golden State plus 3 and Oakland plus 130. Maybe Jimmy Butler steps up. I'm just not a fan of this Kings team, as you guys know. Okay, now move on to hockey. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to tonight. Tonight's a light night compared to yesterday. Canes over the Rangers 3-0. Mammoth over the Sabres 2-1 in OT. Flyers over the Habs 5-4 in a shootout. Bruins over the Isles 4-3 in a shootout. Stars over the Oilers 4-3 in a shootout. Wild over the Preds 3-2 in OT. Abs over the Lightning 3-2. Golden Knights over the Red Wings 1-0. Ducks over the Panthers 7-3. And the Kings over the Jets 3-0. Yeah, 5 games tonight in hockey. 7 o'clock you have Mammoth Leafs from Toronto. The Leafs are minus 154. The Mammoth are plus 128. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 108. Unders minus 112. Mammoth plus 1.5 is minus 194. The Leafs minus 1.5 plus 156. I'm going to go with the over at minus 108. 7:30 on TMT, Blues Capitals. Caps minus 146, Blues plus 122, over under 5.5. Overs minus 138, unders plus 112. Blues plus 1.5 is minus 205. Caps minus 1.5 plus 164. I'm going to go with the under at plus money. 9:30 Blue Jackets Flames. Flames minus 120. Jackets even money, over under 6.5. Overs plus 108. Unders minus 132. Jackets plus 1.5 is minus 250. Flames minus 1.5 plus 198. Columbus at even money. I don't know why Calgary's favored. 10 o'clock Blackhawks Canucks. Vancouver minus 178. Chicago plus 146. Over under 6.5. Overs plus 116. Unders minus 142. Blackhawks plus 1.5 is minus 170. Canucks minus 1.5 plus 138. I like the Blackhawks plus 146. I like how they're playing. That's good value. And then Sharks Kraken. Kraken minus 172. Sharks plus 142. Over under 6.5. Overs plus 110. Unders minus 134. So I like the over 6.5 at plus 110 for that one. Okay, now we'll go to college football. We have some action to talk about from yesterday, and we'll look ahead to tonight. We have 2 games. Like I said, in action. Akron over UMass 44-10, and Ohio over Miami of Ohio 24-20. All right, tonight 7 o'clock. ESPNU Kent State Ball State. Maryland's Ball State 3.5 total 50 and 13/20. And it is 3.5 and 47.5. I like the over because both teams' defenses stink. And on ESPN2, Northern Illinois, Toledo. Maryland's Toledo 12.5, total 41 and 13/20. And it's 14.5 and 41.5. I'm going to take Northern Illinois plus the 14.5. Toledo hasn't been all that impressive this season. Okay, now I'll move on to soccer. We'll go over the results of note from yesterday and look ahead to today. Yet again after 3 o'clock with the Champions League. So yesterday's results: Champions League, Napoli, Frankfurt 0-0 draw. Arsenal over Slavia 3-0. Atletico Madrid over Union SG 3-1. AS Monaco over Bodo Glimt 1-0. Juventus Sporting CP 1-1 draw. Liverpool over Real Madrid 1-0. Olympiacos PSV Eindhoven 1-1 draw. Bayern over PSG 2-1, and Tottenham over FC Copenhagen 4-0. ELC Birmingham City over Millwall 4-0. Blackburn over Bristol City 1-0. Charlton Athletic over West Brom 1-0. Derby County over Hull City 2-1. Ipswich Watford 1-1 draw. Leicester Middlesbrough 1-1 draw. Stoke City over Oxford 3-0. Coventry over Sheffield United 3-1. All right, Champions League 2 finals. FK Karabakh Chelsea 2-2 draw, and Paphos over Villarreal 1-0. So that's a pretty big upset. And here was I yesterday saying Chelsea Villarreal moneyline parlay was like a no-brainer. And that kicked me in the ass. Going on now, Champions League. Ajax Galatasaray, Benfica, Bayer Leverkusen, Brugge Barcelona, Inter, and Kairat Almaty, Man City Brescia, Marseille Atalanta, and Newcastle United and Athletic Club. ELC going on now, Preston Swansea City, Queen's Southampton, Sheffield Wednesday Norwich City, and Portsmouth Wrexham. I think we have Conference League and Yup loaded tomorrow. I'm just gonna read you the games. Zagreb Celta Vigo, Basel FCSB, FC Midtjylland Celtic, FC Utrecht FC Porto, Malmo FF and Panathinaikos, Nice SC Freiburg, RB Salzburg and the Go-Ahead Eagles, Red Star Lille, SK Sturm Graz and Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv, Bologna SK Brand, Braga Racing Genk. The last 3 games I said, Aston Villa, Maccabi, Bologna SK Brand, and Braga Racing Genk are all 3 o'clocks, by the way. Ferencváros and Ludogorets, PAOK Slakina and Young Boys, Rangers AS Roma, Real Betis Lyon, FVB Stuttgart, and Feyenoord, Victoria Plzen, and Fenerbahce. Conference League 12:45, AEK Athens, Shamrock Rovers, AEK Laranza, Aberdeen, FC Noah Sigma, KPS Kwapo and Slavan, Mainz Fiorentina, NK Celje, Liga Warsaw, Samspor, Hamrin, Shakhtar Bredabalik, Sparta Prague and Rakow. 3 o'clock, BK Hackett in Strasbourg, Crystal Palace, AZ Alkmaar, Dynamo Kyiv and Zerzinski, KF Shlinga and Jagiellonia. Lasawane and Omania, Lincoln Red Imps and Rijeka, Rapid Vienna and CSU Craiova, Real Valenciano and Lech Ponzin and Shelburne and Dorita Glujan. And in the Pro League tomorrow, 9:55 Al Hazim and Al Khalij, and 12:30 Al Kidiash and Al Khalod and Al Raida and Damak. So there you have it for soccer. Now we'll move on to golf. We have another tournament coming up. It is the WWT Championship from El Cardano Golf Course in Cabo. So tee times of note: 8:30 Doug Gim, Kevin Ventura, Vincent Whaley, Carson Young, Bayo Hostler, and Jesper Svensson. 8:41 Paul Fishburne, Matthias Schmid, Will Gordon, Harry Higgs, David Skins, and Ricky Castillo. 8:52 Chad Ramey, Trey Mullinax, Lucas Griffin, Ryan Palmer, Luke Donald, and Jackson Suber. 9:03 Davis Riley, Aaron Weiss, Nicholas Echeverria, Jacob Bridgman, Nick Dunlap, Nate Taylor. 9:14 JJ Spawn, Pat Kazir, Taylor Moore, Trevor Hogue, Ben Griffin. 9:25 Stefan Yeager, Matt Wallace, Joseph Highsmith, Francesco Molinari, Adam Hadwin, Adam Putnam. 9:36 Nate Hardy, Lucas Hodges, Sevi Valimaki, Patrick Rogers, Kevin Stroman, Matt Kuchar. 9:47 Taylor Montgomery. 9:58 Nick Goodwin. 10:09 Trevor Cohn. 1:05 Henrik Norlander, Mark Hubbard, Michael Thubjorsen, David Lipsky, Thubjorn Allison, Ben Coles. 1:16 Joel Diamond, Ben Silverman, Kevin Roy, Hayden Buckley, Victor Perez, Zach Blair. 1:27 Paul Peterson, Max Grieserman, Chandler Phillips, Max McGreevy, Grayson Sieg. 1:38 Matthew Pavon, Wyndham Clark, Keith Mitchell, Luke List, Mackenzie Hughes. 1:49 Kevin Yu, Austin Eckler, Grayson Hingo, Adam Schenk, Evan Van Roy, and Camilo Vegas. 2 o'clock Siemens Power, Adam Svensson, Raja Campos, Brent Snecker, Stuart Fisk, Emiliano Grillo. 2:11, I should say Stephen Fisk. 2:11 Rico Hoey, Sam Ryder, Chom Kim, Rio Isatune, Justin Lauer. 2:22, nobody really of note. 2:44 Pearson Cootie and Will Chandler. All right, so a pick for this event. I am going to go with Wyndham Clark at 30-1 to win the WWT Championship. Okay, now we are going to do my NFL Wednesday bet. A lot has obviously changed with trades and whatnot. So when I do the lines on Friday for the show, they could be like dramatically different. I went up to 4.5, but I still love it. I'm gonna lay 4.5 with the Bears against the Giants. I was going to make that the pick yesterday, but it looked like the line was going back in Big Blue's favor, so I stayed off. But I'm still gonna lay at this number. I just think they are a much better team than the Giants right now. They can do. They're not going to put up as many points as they did against the Bengals, but they will put up a good amount of points against a bad Giants defense. And on the road, I can see Jackson Dart making some mistakes. So I'm going to lay 4.5 with the Bears against a bad Giants team. Okay, now we will do on this day. For today, brought to you.
Well, good evening, everybody.
By All Sports News. All right, so on this day, on November 5th, 2022, the Houston Astros win the World Series. I don't know why I thought the Astros won in 23. Oh, that was the Rangers that won in 23. The Astros won in 22. Because I thought Verlander... Oh, yeah, he was. Verlander was on the team then. Because then I guess he left for 6 months to go to the Mets and he came back. 2021, the Browns released Odell Beckham Jr. And that was how many years? 3 years after they acquired him in a trade from the Giants. And they gave up a first-round pick that turned out to be Dexter Lawrence. Now looking back, the Browns had a couple of good teams with Baker Mayfield. And they could have used him more than Odell Beckham, right? But on the flip side, Odell Beckham Jr. is the reason why the Giants thought Eli Manning was still a good NFL quarterback. Because if they didn't pick him and picked somebody else, maybe like Aaron Donald Aaron Donald obviously would have been great, but there's a lot of other good players in that draft. Zach Martin. A lot of those guys are out of the league now, which is crazy to think about. There's an alternate universe where the Giants are Eli plays out his old contract. Maybe they give him a couple more years, and maybe 2018 they're picking Josh Allen or somebody like that, or 17 they could have, but then again Trubisky, he was a bust. But you never know with these quarterbacks though, and that's my what if with the Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. It's more of a Giants thing rather than a Browns thing in terms of the what if. And that was a bad trade by the Browns, and at the time I remember doing the podcast praising the Browns for that trade. 2013, Aaron Rodgers breaks his collarbone. I remember that. And it was a brutal injury for him. And then he came back later in the season, like week 17, and they won the division. I remember it was a late window Fox game. They played the Bears. He came back from injury. They ended up winning the division that year, but I don't remember Did they lose in the wild card round against somebody that year? 2013. Let me look this up. 2013 NFL playoffs. That was the year the Colts had that big comeback against the Chiefs. The bracket. Green Bay lost to San Francisco at Lambeau. They did lose in the wild card round that year. 2019, Cade Cunningham commits to Oklahoma State. Definitely the best player Oklahoma State has had this past decade. 2017, the Senators acquire Matt Duchene. I remember that was a big deal. Matt Duchene wanted out of wherever he was, and he ended up on Ottawa and didn't really turn out great. 2024, the Commanders acquire Marshawn Lattimore. So that was on the say a year ago. And now he's out for the season. 2015, Lions fire GM Martin Mayhew. 2019, Cam Newton out for the season with the Panthers. And I think they released him that following spring. 2022, number 3, Georgia defeats number 1, Tennessee. I remember when Tennessee was number 1. 2014, Texans bench Ryan Fitzpatrick for Ryan Mallett. I remember people thinking Ryan Mallett was good. 2012, Red Sox re-signed David Ortiz. I didn't realize he was going to be a free agent that offseason. In 2013, the Mariners hired Lloyd McClendon. Who had some winning records with the Mariners, then he got fired. So there you have it for on this day. Now move on to NFL Power Rankings. I go from 32 to 1. I'm going to talk about resumes and trade deadlines. So this is going to be a longer segment than you think. Number 32, of course, is the New York Football Jets. They are 1-7. Their lone win came against the Bengals. Coming up, they are hosting the Browns, and they're not even going to be favored in the game because they made those trades. I'd say they're a trade deadline winner. They get a lot of future assets to accumulate to go get a quarterback, whether that's in the draft or trading for somebody or whatever. But if you're really bad like the Jets, that's how you do it. So, a round of applause to their general manager, as I said yesterday. And then and they could easily be 0-8. But you can make a case they could be 3-5 if, say, they beat the Steelers week 1 and they beat the Buccaneers in week 3. So there's a couple games they were competitive in. Now looking back, 31, the New Orleans Saints. They're also 1-7, they're 1-8. And coming up, they are at the Panthers. They trade Rashid Shaheed away and get a 4th for him. I don't think that's enough. I think the Saints are a trade deadline loser, to be honest with you, because they should have done what the Jets did. They could have gotten something for Chris Olave. They could have gotten something for Cam Jordan. Blow it up. Rashid Shaheed's a nice little role player, but he should have went for more than a 4th. And their one win was against Jackson Dart and the Giants in the game where the Giants turned the ball over 5 times. But on the flip side, they could easily be 2-7, 3-6 because they barely lost to the Bears. They hung around with Buffalo. Not that they were going to beat Buffalo, but they hung around in that game. Oh, and they could have beaten the Cardinals in week 1. That was another one. I knew there was a game that they nearly won too. So coming up for them, like I said, at the Panthers. 30, the Tennessee Titans. They are 1-8 on the season. Their lone win came against Arizona, who stinks. Next up for Tennessee, I believe is their bye. Yes, they have a bye next. And I think they're also a trade deadline loser. The only guy you trade is Draymond Jones. Meanwhile, you could have traded Calvin Ridley. But I do understand you want guys there to help develop Cam Ward. There's a couple other teams with young quarterbacks coming up that you have the same issue as. I understand why you didn't trade Ridley. But I mean, L'Jarius Sneed could have gotten something. You would have gotten something big for Jeffrey Simmons. Like, you could have gotten close to what the Jets got for Quinnen Williams for Jeffrey Simmons if you traded with Dallas. Number 29, the Washington Commanders. Obviously, they're higher than this if Jaden Daniels doesn't get hurt. But they're a shit show without him. An absolute fucking shit show. Marcus Mariota is not the answer. I originally had this team ahead of the next team, but I had to flip it because of the quarterback injury. But they are 3-5. Their best win. So who they've beaten? The Giants, the Chargers, which that's probably their best win. And they beat somebody else. I can't think of who. I know they lost to Chicago, lost to Seattle, lost to Dallas, got blown out. I don't think they've played the Eagles yet. But I don't remember who else they beat. But their best win at the Chargers. Worst loss, probably the Seattle game in prime time. Though we just watched. And considering what happened to Daniels in that game. And I say worst loss based on performance, not by flukiness and luck. Because if it's by flukiness and luck, it's the Bears game. But if it's by performance, which I base it off, it's the Seahawks. And then coming up for the Commanders, they lost to the Chiefs too. Coming up for the Commanders, they host the Lions. I don't know why Burkhardt and Brady are going there. They better. I think they got to change that. Burkhardt and Brady should be going to San Francisco for the Rams. Oh, they did part. Burkhardt and Brady are Rams, San Francisco, so they changed America's Game of the Week, which is good. And Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma are rightfully at Detroit, Washington. So they did rightfully change that. And then they're a trade line big loser because they could have, with Daniels out, they could have traded a lot of those veterans for picks. And then you could move up to get somebody in the draft down the road. Number 28, the New York Football Giants. They're 2-7. They're a trade deadline loser. They did nothing to help the development of Jackson Dart. But the argument to that is the same with Tennessee, in a way. You're 2-7/1-8 if you're Tennessee. You're not going anywhere anyway, and it's not worth giving up draft capital to by any stance. And I don't hate the Giants' weapons. I just think that's a bad narrative because I had all those drops against San Francisco. Like Tyron Tracy's not bad. I hate Devin Singletary. I think he is a stiff, and the Giants just signed him because the GM knew him in Buffalo. But even he hasn't played bad. Then you have Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, who's overpaid. And Dart was throwing to those guys before Scattaboo got hurt. And before Neighbors got hurt. Those guys are not a disaster, but they're not great either. That's same thing with Tennessee outside of Ridley. It's not worth giving up draft capital because you're bad. Use what you have in-house to develop your quarterback. And you could always improve that next year. And then a good lesson to learn from that is New England from last year. New England did not go out and make moves for Drake May last year. It wasn't worth it for them. Yes, those two teams are trade deadline losers for not moving veterans. I mean, the Giants could have gotten a haul for Dexter Lawrence. They could have gotten a haul for Brian Burns, which I think they were right not to move those guys, despite the Carl Banks criticism. But you could have moved Kayvon Thibodeau for something. You could have moved a couple of your other, like Paulson Abito and Javon Holland. You could have moved some of those guys and got something back on defense. You're not good on defense with them. The same thing happened with the Jets. They weren't good on defense with Sauce Gardner, and although those are two better players than some of those secondary guys mentioned for the Giants. But the reason why the Giants kept those guys instead of trading those guys away is because they don't think they're far away. And that's like New England did that last year. They didn't trade any. They stood pat. So maybe they're right to stay pat, but at the same time, they could have gotten something for some veterans. And that's why they're a loser. And same with Tennessee. And I probably named New England a loser last year, too. And then Giants coming up there at the Bears. Their worst loss of the year was definitely Sunday. They got nothing but boos and being called irrelevant and yada yada. Jackson Dart looks like a rookie, and all the fucking narratives are back with this team before Dart showed up. So, yeah. They're a mess. 27, another team that's a mess. The Las Vegas Raiders, how the hell are they not in the bottom 5? They could thank Jaden Daniels for getting hurt for that. Or else they would have been. So, they're coming off that loss against the Jaguars. I applaud them going for 2, though, because it was the right move. Because ties suck. Because say if they went for the tie, and then there's the hypothetical, they could have won. So I liked Pete Carroll's decision to go for the win, although it didn't work out. Coming up, they're at Denver. I bet against them. So yeah, to me, loser too. They could have gotten more for Jacoby Myers. There's other guys I think they could have dealt. Their best win was at New England now looking back. And then their worst loss was probably, you could argue Sunday, from a heartbreak standpoint. The at Kansas City game was probably their worst performance because they were kind of shut out in that game. Oh no, they pretty much were shut out. They were shut out. 26, the Miami Dolphins. They are also 2-7, another pathetic mess team. Hey, at least they traded Jalen Phillips. But they could have traded other guys. They could have traded Waddle to New England. Or somebody dumb enough to give up a first-round pick for. Best performance at Atlanta. Worst performance. Definitely opening day at Indy. You knew right then and there they were going to be bad. Coming up for them, they host the Bills. They played each other already this season. 25, the Cleveland Browns. They are on the season 2-6. They just had their bye. They're at the Jets coming up. To me, another loser. I mean, they were right to keep Garrett. It's kind of like, but then again, they could have gotten a shit ton for him. It's funny, those Jets trades are making the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Dolphins look all bad for not trading veterans. But at the same time, I understand why they kept them. But my biggest thing with the Browns, why is Jerry Jeudy still on this team? They could have traded him to somebody that could have used him. Pittsburgh, although they won't trade in division. Green Bay, they could have traded him anywhere. But no, he's still stuck on this stupid Browns team. 24 to Cincinnati Bengals. They are 3-6. Joe Flacco's their quarterback. They're a fun offense, but they are literally allergic to defense. Literally. They just had a horrific loss against the Bears after coming back to make that game interesting. And they took the lead. So that's what I call a fake comeback. When you come back and take the lead, but lose the game. I mean, that almost happened to Denver against the Giants a few weeks ago. But then again, the Giants falling apart probably doesn't happen if they blow that Denver game. Then, like I said, the Giants never recovered from that Denver game, just like the Bears didn't recover from the Hail Mary game last year against the Commanders. And controversially, the Commanders never looked back after the Hail Mary. And so far, Denver hasn't looked back since the Giants game. Ironically enough. So Bengals, they're finished. They should have been sellers. I mean, why didn't they trade Trey Hendrickson? He's in a contract year, and he was in trade rumors all year, and you don't freaking trade him. That's malpractice. I'm sorry. And then coming up for Cincy is their bye. 23 is the Atlanta Falcons. They just had a competitive game with New England and lost. Coming up for them, they played the Colts in Germany. Should be an interesting game. Their worst loss was that Miami game. I know it was Cousins, but they were pathetic in that game. And then their best win was the Bills game. That was one of the better wins anybody's had all year in terms of the bad teams. And then their trade deadlines are another loser. I've had a shit ton of losers and one winner. And the Falcons could have improved that defense. They could have gotten Trey Hendrickson. 22, the Dallas Cowboys. 3-5-1 coming off the pathetic loss against Arizona. They have a bye coming up, which is good for Dallas because they need it. Are they a winner or a loser? This is a very interesting debate. I'm going to say they're a loser. Unless they're looking at that Quinn and Williams trade for 2027, thinking they're going to be a good team then. So interesting, of course. Best win. So their 3 wins were Giants, Jets, and who was their other one? Giants, Jets, and Washington. 3 bad teams. Their worst loss performance-wise, you could argue, was at the Bears or at the Broncos because they were blown out in both those games. But Arizona losing to pathetic Jacoby Brissett is an embarrassment. And then you go out and make a panic trade for Quinn and Williams. So because of what they gave up for Quinn and Williams alone, loser. And oh yeah, they should have had Micah Parsons instead of. They obviously don't make that trade if they don't trade Parsons, who's a way better player than Quinn and Williams. 21, the Arizona Cardinals. They're 3-5, coming off that win over the Cowboys. Coming up for them, they're at Seattle, and all of a sudden, that's a somewhat interesting game. So Cardinals trade deadline. I'd say loser. Could have improved the defense, of course. Running back could have used an upgrade with James Conner out for the year. They could have used Breece Hall. I almost said 2020. Number 20, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. Their best win obviously was that KC game. Worst loss. Did they lose to the Texans at home a couple weeks ago? Why do I feel like that happened? Or was I thinking of last year? They lost to the Seahawks at home. But yeah, I guess the Seahawks loss was their worst. Actually, no, the Rams game in London was their worst loss. And then coming up for Jacksonville, they're at the Texans. Maybe that's what I had in my mind. Trade deadline, winner or loser. That's a hard one because they could have done a combo. So I'm gonna say loser because I feel like they could have added more. Number 19, the Carolina Panthers. Coming off that big win against Green Bay, they host the Saints coming up. What was I gonna say? Trade deadline winner or loser? Again, loser. They could have improved that pathetic defense. 18, Chicago Bears. By the way, Panthers are 5-4. Bears are 5-3, coming off the win over the Bengals. They host the Giants coming up in a game that they should win. Trade deadline winner or loser? I'm gonna say loser. They could have improved that team too. Oh my god, I only have one winner so far. Number 17, the Houston Texans. They are 3-5. So they just lost to Denver. Coming up, they are hosting the Jags. Hopefully CJ Stroud is back for that one. Trade deadline winner or loser? I'm going to say loser because that offensive line needs major help. Number 16 is the Minnesota Vikings. They are 4-4. Coming off that big win against the Lions. Coming up, they host the Ravens. Trade deadline winner or loser? Loser. Only because I think their defense had some holes, especially in the secondary. 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. 15. So they just beat the Titans. Coming up, they host the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. And they're going to be my second winner only because they got a lineman to keep Justin Herbert upright, and that's your goal right now. 14, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, how far have they fallen? They are 5-2-1, just lost to the Panthers. Coming up, they host the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Trade deadline winner or loser? Loser. I mean, Tucker Kraft got hurt. You could have found the tight end replacement for him. 13, the San Francisco 49ers. They are 6-3, coming off that win over the Giants. Coming up, they host the Rams in a rematch game from earlier in the year, in which the Rams lost to the Niners and Mac Jones. So, we'll see with the Niners. And I'd say they're trade deadline loser because I think they could have went all in a little bit, like how the Colts did. And getting some guys in. Number 12 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 5-3 right now. Going off that Colts game. Coming up next at the Chargers. We'll see how that goes. All right, number 11 is the Baltimore Ravens. They're 3-5. They beat the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Coming up for them, they are at the Vikes. And then trade deadline, I'm going to say they're a winner because they improved the pass rush with Draymond Jones. Number 10 is the Indianapolis Colts. They are 7-2 on the season, coming off a loss to Pittsburgh. Coming up for them, they're against the Falcons in Germany. Trade deadline winner or loser. I mean, you could argue for the season a winner, but long-term a loser. But because they gave up 2 first-round picks and doubling down on a quarterback that doesn't have a good history, that makes them a loser. Number 9, the New England Patriots. They are 7-2 coming up. They're at the Bucs. Very interesting game. Trade deadline loser. They could have improved the line or gotten a wide receiver. Number 8 is the Detroit Lions. They are 5-3 on the year. They're coming off a bad loss against Minnesota. Coming up, they're at the Commanders. Trade deadline loser, because they didn't improve their roster. 7 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They host the Patriots coming up. They had their bye last week. Winner or loser for the Bucs? I'm gonna say loser, but it's only because of the injuries and such. Number 6, the Denver Broncos. They are 7-2, really good team, obviously. Coming off the win on Sunday against the Texans. And coming up, they host the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. Trade deadline, I'm going to say loser. They could have added to a defense that is really good, but needs to be better than what it's shown. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks. They are an incredible 6-2 to start the season. Sam Darnold's playing great. Coming up home against the Cards. So the Rams I have at 4. They just beat the Saints handily. Coming up, they have a game at the Niners, which is a big one. Trade deadline, I'd say winner. They kind of stayed at status quo. They didn't have to do anything, I don't think. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Coming off the big win over KC. Coming up, they're at the Dolphins in what could be a letdown spot. I say loser because I think they could have improved their defense. 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Coming off the that Buffalo game, they're 5-4. Coming up, they have a bye. I'm going to say loser for them because they had to upgrade at running back, but they didn't. And number 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are 6-2. Coming off yet another... or no, did they have their bye? Yeah, they had their bye coming up. They 2 weeks ago they beat the Giants. Last week was a bye, and then they're at the Packers. And I'm gonna say they're a trade deadline winner because they got Jalen Phillips. All right, so there you have it for the NFL Power Rankings. News and notes. I told you that was gonna be a long one. Breece Hall said he didn't request a trade. Nolan Arenado trade expected. It was expected last year. Look what happened. Holy shit, the Tigers will listen to Scooble as they're seriously consider offers for him. So he's available. Maybe the Mets or the Red Sox go and get him. The Braves pick up Chris Sale's option. Shane Bieber staying with the Blue Jays as they pick up his $16 million option. The Royals extend Salvador Perez through 2027 season. Lucas Giolito is now a free agent with the Red Sox. Jack Flaherty staying with the Tigers. Jorge Polanco to be a free agent. The Braves are hiring 2 ex-Mets coaches, Jeremy Hefner and Antoine Richardson. The Mets want to retain Richardson before he joined the Braves, by the way. Kyler Murray going on injury reserve. Jacoby Brissett set to start the next 4. I wonder if this is a soft benching. Ooh, CJ Stroud out week 10 against the Jaguars as Davis Mills will start. So 2026 number 1 prospect. Tyran Stokes withdraws from high school as he's to explore new opportunities, and he goes to Notre Dame High School. Jaden Daniels getting more options as Dan Quinn says that the Commanders should get update on his elbow injury soon. Kyler gets quote-unquote more time to heal as he has quote-unquote increased chance of setback until foot is properly healed. Auburn and Notre Dame to play the first ever college football matchup with home and home series starting in 27. Bill O'Brien rips the reporter as he is staying positive amid 1-8 college football season. We don't have time to do the college football playoff rankings. LSU hires Verge Osbury as he gets his promotion to AD. David Njoku hyped after the trade to, or not being traded, I should say. The Panthers are eyeing Asante Samuel Jr. He would be a good pickup for them. Jermaine Johnson almost landed on a new team, too. Speaking of the Jets. Doug Moogie downplays a teardown as he talks about reasoning behind blockbuster trades and keeping Breece Hall. Sauce Gardner was stunned by the trade. Walker Kessler out for the season with season-ending shoulder injury. That's brutal for Utah. Maybe this starts the tank. But at the same time, I do believe he got hurt. So, Jimmy Butler isn't playing against the Kings. I didn't know that. Coach semifinals for the NFL Hall of Fame include Bill Belichick and Tom Coughlin. So the Kings are subject of growing trade speculation for Ja Morant. Another team that's eyeing Ja is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that makes sense because they need a point guard. Jonathan, why is it going to be a free agent as they're not picking up that option? Meanwhile, they picked up Tim Hill's option. And that's really it for news and notes. Last but not least, best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. This is a harder one considering there wasn't anything attractive to me. And I'm going to go take Oklahoma City minus the 1.5 against Portland. It's just easy money right there with the best team in the NBA laying less than 5 points against a bad Blazers team. So there you have it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything. Look at everything tomorrow as well. Have a great day, everyone.